Asking for something can feel vulnerable. You put yourself out there hoping for a yes, but unsure of what will come back. What many people forget is that the moment after you ask is just as important as the ask itself. How you respond, especially with gratitude, can change everything. Expressing genuine thanks shows respect for the other person's time and effort, builds stronger connections, and opens doors for the future. This chapter focuses on why gratitude isn't just good manners. It's a powerful part of the art of asking that shapes your success and reputation. Chapter 1. Ask clearly and specifically for what you want. You know what separates people who succeed from those who don't. It's not always talent, luck, or money. Often it's something much simpler. It's the courage and clarity to ask for exactly what they want. Most people never ask. They assume they'll be rejected. They think it's too much. They fear looking foolish, so they stay quiet, hoping someone will notice them, reward them, or read their mind. But life doesn't work that way. No one can give you what you want if you don't speak it clearly. The first step to getting anything you want, whether it's a job, a relationship, an opportunity, or support, is knowing what it is and asking for it directly. But here's the catch. Vague questions bring vague results. If you walk into life with half-hearted requests, life gives you half-hearted outcomes. If you want real progress, your ask has to be clear, focused, and direct. Think about the last time you asked someone for something. Were you clear, or were you hoping they would just get the hint? Now imagine walking into a room and saying, "I need help." That's okay, but it's broad. It leaves the other person guessing. Compare that to "I need help preparing for my job interview on Friday. Can you review my answers for 15 minutes tonight?" That's clarity. That's power. That's when people take you seriously, because you've taken yourself seriously first. Clarity is a form of respect, both to yourself and to the person you're asking. So how do you get that kind of clarity? First, take time to understand your own needs. What do you actually want? Not just generally, but specifically. If you want a raise, how much? If you want time off, which days? If you want advice, about what exactly? Don't leave it open-ended. Sit down with yourself and answer this. What exactly am I trying to get? Second, don't confuse clarity with being pushy. You're not forcing anyone. You're simply expressing your need in a way that's respectful and honest. People respond better to you when they feel you're being real with them. And third, speak your request out loud, with calmness and confidence. You don't need to raise your voice or sound dramatic. But you do need to believe in your words. A shaky voice often comes from a shaky belief. The more certain you are about what you want, the easier it is to speak with strength. Asking clearly also shows that you've done your part. You've thought things through. You're not dumping your confusion on someone else's plate. You're coming with intention. In my own life, I've seen how this changes everything. I used to be vague. I'd hint, I'd hope, I'd wait, but I rarely got what I wanted because I wasn't making it easy for others to give it. The day I started asking, clearly, things shifted. People started listening. Opportunities started showing up, not because the world suddenly changed, but because I did. If you want real answers, ask real questions. If you want results, be specific about your goals. Clarity leads to direction, and direction creates movement. Now you might be thinking, what if I don't know what I want? That's okay too. Your first ask can be to yourself. What matters to me right now? What do I truly need? Sit with those questions. Write down your thoughts. When your heart is clear, your words will follow. And if you're afraid of hearing no, remember this: a no is better than silence. A no means you took a step. It means you tried. And with every no, you get better at asking, better at refining, and better at moving closer to your yes. Think of the people who succeed in life. They aren't waiting quietly in the background. They're making bold, honest requests. They're showing up with clarity. They're not rude, but they're real. And that's what you need to be: real. Real about your needs. Real about your dreams. Real about your voice. You were not born to be overlooked. You were not created to stay quiet. If something matters to you, say it. If you need something, ask for it. If you want more, step up and speak up. You'll be surprised how often people are willing to help when they know what you need. But if you keep it all inside, you rob them of the chance to say yes. Asking clearly doesn't guarantee you'll get everything, but it guarantees you'll start moving. It guarantees growth, and more than that, it builds self-respect. Because when you ask for what you want clearly and directly, you're telling the world and yourself that you matter. So today, I challenge you to stop waiting, stop hinting, stop hoping someone will read your mind. Speak your truth. Ask with strength. Ask with clarity. Ask like your future depends on it, because sometimes it really does. And once you've asked, stay open. Don't rush. Don't beg. Just stand in the strength of your ask. The right people, the right doors, and the right moments will respond. But only if you take that first step. Everything starts with a question. Everything changes when you ask it right. You have the power to ask. You have the right to ask. And you have the strength to be heard. This is where it begins. This is how you get what you want. Not by wishing, not by waiting, but by asking clearly, honestly, and directly. This is the art of asking. This is your moment to speak it. Make it count. Chapter 2. Know exactly why you deserve what you ask before you ask anyone for anything in life. You have to ask yourself one simple but powerful question: do I truly believe I deserve it? That question is where everything begins. Because if you don't believe you deserve what you're asking for, it will show. It will come through in your tone, your body language, your energy, and your words. People can sense hesitation. They can sense self-doubt. And often, that becomes the reason you get turned away, not because you asked for too much, but because you didn't believe in your own worth when you asked. You see, the world doesn't just respond to what you say, it responds to how you feel about what you're saying. You might say the right words, but if deep down you feel like you're not good enough, you're sending mixed signals. And those signals matter more than you think. Confidence doesn't begin when someone says yes to you. It begins when you say yes to yourself. When you stop waiting for permission to value yourself. When you stop apologizing for wanting something better. When you stop playing small just to make others comfortable. To ask for anything with strength, you need to know your own value. You need to understand exactly why you deserve what you're asking for, not in an arrogant way. Not in a loud, bragging way, but in a calm, honest, grounded way. A way that says, I've done the work, I've paid the price. I know what I bring, and I am worthy of this. That's the energy that people listen to. That's what makes your ask compelling. That's what makes doors open. So how do you get to that place? How do you build the belief that you deserve what you're asking for? It starts with awareness. You have to know your story. You have to look back at what you've been through, what you've overcome, and how much effort you've put in. That's your foundation. Think about the late nights, the early mornings, the sacrifices you've made, the consistency you've shown, the integrity you've held onto when no one was watching. These things matter. They are the reasons you deserve more. But you have to own them. Stop brushing off your hard work like it was nothing. Stop downplaying your progress just because you're not where someone else is. Your journey is valid, your effort counts, and it builds your right to ask for more. This is not about entitlement. This is about earned confidence. There's a big difference between wanting something just because you saw someone else have it and wanting something because you've put in the time, the energy, and the commitment to become someone who's ready for it. So when you ask for a raise, a promotion, a partnership, or even support from someone, you should be able to back it with truth. Not just, "I want it," but "here's why I've earned it." That kind of reasoning changes everything. People respect people who know what they bring to the table, and you have to see it in yourself before anyone else can. Take time to reflect on what you've done so far. Make a list if you have to. Write down your wins, even the small ones. Write down the things you've learned, the obstacles you've handled, and the skills you've developed. This isn't just about achievements, it's about character. Have you become more disciplined, more responsible, more reliable? That's growth, that's proof. And that's your reason. So many people struggle with asking for what they want, because deep down they're carrying guilt, shame, or a lack of self-worth. They think they're not good enough, that they haven't done enough, that they don't deserve more. But that's just fear talking. If you've been showing up in your life with effort, honesty, and consistency, even if the results aren't perfect, you've earned the right to ask for more. You don't have to be flawless. You just have to be intentional. You just have to care enough to improve, to grow, and to give your best. Believing you deserve better doesn't mean you're being selfish. It means you've stopped settling for less than what you're capable of. And when you carry that belief into your request, people can feel it. Your tone changes. Your eyes change. Your energy changes. You're not begging. You're not hoping. You're simply stating your truth. And that kind of ask holds weight. Another key part of knowing you deserve what you ask for is taking responsibility. Don't just focus on what you want. Focus on what you're willing to do for it. Be ready to show that you're not just expecting something to be handed to you. You're prepared to carry it, manage it, and respect it. This shows maturity. It shows preparation. And it reinforces your belief that you're worthy of what you're asking for. Sometimes people will still say no. Sometimes they won't see your value. But don't let their response shake your belief in yourself. You're not asking because you're desperate. You're asking because you're ready. You're not asking because you're entitled. You're asking because you've done the work, you've grown, and you know your direction. The way you see yourself sets the tone for how others treat you. So if you want to be heard, seen, and respected, start by owning your worth. The people who get the most out of life aren't the ones who are the loudest. They're the ones who are the clearest about their value. They know what they've overcome. They know what they've contributed. And they don't shrink themselves just to fit in. You don't have to be loud to be confident. You don't have to brag to be proud. But you do have to know exactly why you deserve what you're asking for. Stand on your truth. Not just emotionally, but practically. Think it through. Write it down. Understand it. When someone asks, "Why should I give you this?" you should be able to answer without flinching. Not because you rehearsed a speech, but because you've lived the answer. That's the difference between a wish and a worthy request. When you know your worth, your ask becomes a statement, not a question mark. So the next time you walk into a room, pick up the phone, or send that message, don't just think about what you want. Think about why you've earned it. And remind yourself of this: you've worked, You've grown. You've shown up. You've paid the price. You're still here. You're still going. That's not by accident. That's strength. That's resilience. That's proof. And that's exactly why you deserve what you ask for. Know it, feel it, speak it, because that's when the world starts to listen. Chapter 3. Use confident body language. While making requests, words are powerful. But the way you carry yourself when you speak those words is often even more powerful. Body language is silent, but it speaks loudly. It speaks before your mouth opens. It tells people everything about your mindset, your belief in yourself, and your confidence in what you're saying. If you want others to take your request seriously, if you want them to actually listen and respond positively, then you must first understand how much of your message is physical, not verbal. You may be asking for something important, but if your body looks unsure, closed off, or uncomfortable, that message gets lost. The words are there, but they don't land. Confident body language is not about acting tough. It's about alignment. It's about showing others that your mind, your words, and your posture are all in sync. When you're in that state, you don't need to try so hard. People feel your confidence, and that alone earns trust. So what does confident body language actually look like when you're making a request? First, it starts with posture. Stand tall, shoulders back, chest open, head held high, not too rigid, but firm enough to say, "I know who I am." You're not looking to intimidate anyone, but you are showing that you're grounded, you're here, and you believe in your presence. Slouching, folding your arms, looking down, these signals make you look unsure. They send the wrong message. Even if your words are clear, your posture can weaken them. Second, eye contact. One of the most powerful tools you have is the ability to look someone in the eyes when you speak. Not in a stare-down or a forced way, but with steadiness, with sincerity. When you look someone in the eye, it shows that you mean what you're saying. It shows respect, and more than that, it shows courage. Avoiding eye contact, glancing around the room, or staring at the floor can make it look like you're unsure of what you're asking, or worse, that you're not being honest. But when you look someone in the eye, even for a few seconds at a time, it builds connection. It makes your words land deeper. Then comes the tone of your voice. Body language isn't just arms and legs. Your voice is part of it. And confident body language includes how you sound. A calm, steady tone, not rushed, not shaky, communicates self-belief. You don't need to raise your voice or speak quickly. In fact, speaking a little slower than usual shows control. It shows presence. If your voice trembles or your volume is too low, people pick up on that. They feel that hesitation. But when your voice is even, steady and sure, it brings weight to your request. It tells the other person, "I'm not just hoping you'll agree. I'm confident in what I'm saying." Your hands also play a role. Use open gestures, not defensive ones. Keep your hands visible. Don't hide them in your pockets. Don't cross your arms. Don't fidget with your phone or your clothes. Instead, use your hands naturally as you speak. A few simple gestures can help emphasize your point and show that you're open. That openness creates trust. You also want to make sure your body is facing the person fully. Turn your shoulders toward them. Lean in slightly, not too much, but enough to show you're engaged. People notice when your body is halfway turned or when you're half leaning away. It gives the impression that you're uncomfortable or that you want to leave. Now, one of the most overlooked parts of confident body language is stillness. When you're nervous, your body tends to move a lot. Tapping your foot, shifting your weight, playing with your fingers, all those little habits reveal anxiety, and they distract the listener. But if you can stay still, centered and grounded while speaking, you create a powerful presence. That stillness makes people focus. It shows you're not rushed. You're composed, and people respond to that with attention and respect. There's also something to be said about your facial expression. When you ask for something, your face should reflect your calmness and clarity. Avoid looking too serious or too casual. Show you care about what you're asking, but don't show desperation. A relaxed expression, with a slight look of certainty and belief, makes your message stronger. A nervous smile or an anxious twitch can undo what your words are trying to build. And finally, your energy. You carry it with you. It's invisible, but people feel it. If you walk into a room with low energy, with doubt, with tension, people react. They pick up on it, even if they don't realize it. But when you walk in with calm strength, with quiet confidence, with an energy that says, "I belong here," everything changes. People don't just hear you, they feel you. So before you ask for something important, center yourself. Breathe. Remind yourself that you have a right to make this request, that your voice matters, that your needs are valid. Then bring that belief into your body, into your posture, into your eyes, into your tone. When your body supports your words, people listen differently. They lean in. They respect you more. And they're more likely to say yes, not because they're doing you a favor, but because they see you believe in yourself. It's not about being perfect. It's about being aligned. When you believe in your request, and your body reflects that belief, people trust you. You don't need to fake anything. You don't need to act. You just need to stop hiding, stop shrinking, and start standing in your truth. You've earned the right to ask for what you need. But it's not just about saying the words. It's about living those words, feeling those words, standing tall when you speak them. You were not meant to be ignored. You were not born to be overlooked. You are here to show up fully, not just with your voice, but with your whole presence. And when you do that, when your body supports your words, something powerful happens. People listen, people respect, and people respond. Because they're not just hearing your request, they're experiencing your confidence. That's the power of body language. That's the art of asking. And that's how you start getting what you truly want. Chapter 4. Ask the right person at the right time. Knowing how to ask is one part of success, but knowing who to ask and when is just as important. A lot of people get frustrated because they feel ignored or rejected, but what they don't realize is that they're asking the wrong person or choosing the wrong moment. Timing and alignment matter just as much as the request itself. You could have the clearest, most confident ask in the world, but if it's directed at someone who's not able or willing to help, it won't matter. And even if you're asking the right person, if you do it at a time when they're distracted, stressed, or simply not present, your request can easily fall flat. To ask effectively, you have to be smart, you have to be aware, and you have to be patient enough to recognize the right window. Start by identifying the right person. This means someone who has the ability, the influence, or the authority to actually help you. It's not enough that someone is kind or supportive. They need to be in a position to say yes. If you're asking for a promotion, are you speaking to your direct manager who can make that decision? Or are you only hinting at it with co-workers who have no say in the matter? If you're seeking guidance, are you reaching out to someone who's been where you want to go? Or are you asking advice from someone who hasn't experienced your path? A lot of people waste their energy asking the wrong people, not because they're bad people, but because they're simply not the ones who can give you what you need. And that leads to discouragement. You have to ask yourself, who is the actual decision maker? Who has the experience I'm looking for? Who has the authority, the network, or the resources that connect to my goal? Once you find the right person, the next step is timing. This is where awareness plays a major role. You need to read the situation. Every person has their own rhythms, their own stresses, their own responsibilities. If you ask someone for something when they're in the middle of a crisis, your request, even if valid, might not land. Pay attention to body language. Listen for tone. Notice energy. If someone seems rushed, preoccupied, or short on time, that's not the right moment. You may only get one chance to ask, so use it wisely. Respect their space, respect their time, and when you do finally ask, they'll respect you for your awareness and emotional intelligence. The right moment isn't always convenient. It takes patience, it takes a bit of courage to wait, but it also shows maturity. There's also something to be said for preparing the person before the ask. Sometimes, jumping straight into a request can feel like a surprise attack, especially if the topic is serious. But if you ease into it with the right energy and give some context, it shows that you value the other person's mindset and you're not just thinking about your own need. For example, instead of walking up to someone and asking for a big favor out of nowhere, you might start with a brief check-in. Ask how they're doing. Sense their mood. Feel the energy. Then, if it seems right, move into your request. And if the timing doesn't feel right, wait. You don't lose power by waiting. You gain strategy. Rushed asks often feel forced, but intentional asks, given at the right time, carry weight. Here's the truth. When you ask someone something, you're asking them to share a piece of their time, energy, attention, or influence. That's not something people give away lightly. But when your timing shows you understand them, it creates openness. Even in professional settings, timing creates leverage. Asking for a raise during a company-wide layoff or after a financial loss might not get you the outcome you want, no matter how deserving you are. But asking after completing a major project, when the momentum is in your favor, gives your request strength. Success isn't just about doing things. It's about doing the right things with the right people at the right time. Now, how do you know if someone is the right person to ask? It's about fit. Do they understand what you're asking for? Do they have the background to support it? Do they have the authority to say yes? If the answer is no, move on. Don't waste your energy trying to convince someone who isn't aligned with your direction. Focus on connection, not just access. It's not about how powerful someone is, it's about how relevant they are to your need. If you want to learn about starting a business, don't ask someone who's never built one. If you want to become a better speaker, don't ask someone who avoids public speaking. Find people who've walked the road. Those are the people who get it, and they're much more likely to respond with real insight. And when you find that person, make your ask count. Be clear. Be prepared. Be respectful. Don't expect people to give you everything just because you asked. Come with intention. Show that you've done your part, that you're not just looking for a shortcut. You're looking for a chance. People respect effort. They notice when you've taken the time to learn, to improve, to research. So when you do ask, it doesn't feel like a burden. It feels like a conversation between equals. Timing also means knowing when not to ask. Sometimes the best move is to wait. Not forever, but until you've earned the right moment. Until you've built enough value. Until the relationship is strong enough. Until the opportunity is ripe. Asking too early can break trust. It can make you look rushed, unprepared, or self-centered. But waiting just long enough to show your seriousness, your consistency, and your awareness can turn a no into a yes. One more thing. Ask with humility, not with fear. There's a difference. Humility says, I respect your time, and I understand the weight of my ask. Fear says, I don't think I deserve this, and I'm nervous you'll reject me. People feel the difference. When you approach someone at the right time, with the right energy, and with the right preparation, you increase your chances of being heard, not because you begged, but because you respected the process. You showed maturity. You chose the right person. You picked the right moment. And those three things, person, timing, and clarity, can often do more for you than the actual request. Every ask is like a key, but the key only works if it's for the right door, at the right moment. So take your time, know who you're speaking to, understand where they're coming from, respect the moment, and when it's right, when it truly feels aligned, speak with strength, ask with clarity, stand with confidence, because when the person is right and the time is right, your ask doesn't just land, it opens doors. And that's how real progress begins. Chapter 5. Prepare your mind to hear yes or no. When you ask for something important, you open yourself up to two possibilities, yes or no. And even though most people say they're ready for both, the truth is, many aren't prepared to fully accept either. Getting a yes can feel amazing. It validates your effort, boosts your confidence, and pushes you forward. But if your mind isn't ready to receive that yes with responsibility, clarity, and humility, you might waste it. You might take it lightly. You might not even follow through the way you should. And when you hear no, if your mind isn't ready to handle that rejection, it can break you, it can silence you, it can make you stop asking, stop believing, and stop moving forward. The truth is, asking is never just about the words, it's about your mindset before, during, and after the conversation. Your ability to accept either outcome without losing your identity or direction will shape how far you go in life. You must prepare yourself for both outcomes, not just hope for one and fear the other. Start with yes. When someone says yes to your request, whether it's a job opportunity, a collaboration, support, or any form of agreement, you need to be mentally prepared to handle what comes next. A yes is not just a gift, it's a responsibility. People who aren't mentally prepared for success often get overwhelmed when it arrives. They freeze, they doubt themselves, or they sabotage it because deep down they didn't believe it would happen. So the moment you ask, make sure your mind is already ready for the possibility of success. Know what you're going to do next. Know how you'll respond. Know what steps you'll take. This isn't about controlling the future, it's about readiness. For example, if you ask someone for mentorship and they say yes, are you ready to show up fully? Are you ready to listen, to learn, and to apply their guidance? Or were you just asking without real commitment? If you ask for a new role or project and they say yes, are you mentally strong enough to carry the weight that comes with it? Don't ask for more if you're not prepared to handle more. A real yes can change your life, but only if you're mentally ready to embrace it with maturity, discipline, and follow through. Now on the other side, what happens if the answer is no? This is where many people struggle. Rejection feels personal, even when it's not. It can create self-doubt. It can trigger old fears. It can make you feel small if your mind isn't grounded. But here's the truth. No is not the end. It's information. It's redirection. And sometimes it's protection. A no doesn't mean you're not good enough. It doesn't mean you should stop asking. It doesn't mean your request was wrong. Sometimes people say no because the timing isn't right, because they're not ready, because they don't understand your vision, or because they're dealing with their own limitations. You can't take that personally. You can't let someone else's answer decide your value. Preparing your mind for rejection doesn't mean expecting it. It means knowing how to respond when it comes. First, stay calm. Don't argue. Don't beg. Don't explain yourself over and over. Accept it with grace. Thank them. And then take a deep breath and reflect. Ask yourself, what can I learn from this? Was the timing off? Was I asking the wrong person? Was I clear enough? Do I need to grow more before asking again? Use every no as a tool, not a wound. When your mind is trained to handle rejection, you stop fearing it. And when you stop fearing rejection, you start asking more freely, more boldly, and more often. That's when your life changes. Because success doesn't come from one big yes. It comes from being willing to face hundreds of no's without losing your belief. It's easy to stay stuck in fear. It's safe to avoid asking. That way, you never risk rejection, but you also never grow. You never expand. You never get to experience what's on the other side of a courageous ask. So you have to build a mindset that's balanced, one that's not desperate for approval and not crushed by denial. That balance gives you power. It makes you emotionally strong. It keeps your identity intact, whether the outcome is in your favor or not. You become someone who isn't chasing validation, but seeking truth. You're not asking to be liked. You're asking to move forward. And that kind of mindset makes you unshakable. The way to build that mindset is through practice. Ask more often, not just for big things. Ask for feedback. Ask for help. Ask for support. And every time you get a yes, stay grounded. Every time you get a no, stay calm. This kind of repetition trains your nervous system to stop reacting with fear and instead respond with purpose. Over time, the fear of rejection fades and your inner strength rises. Also, prepare your mind for mixed responses. Not every answer will be clear-cut. Sometimes people hesitate. Sometimes they say maybe. Sometimes they delay. And if you're not mentally steady, that uncertainty can shake you just as much as a flat-out no. You have to develop patience. Not everything happens right away. Sometimes a not now can turn into a yes later, if you stay respectful and consistent. So when you prepare your mind to hear yes or no, you're building emotional intelligence. You're learning how to stay centered, no matter the outcome. This skill alone will separate you from the crowd, because most people ask with fear. They ask while bracing themselves for rejection, or they only ask when they're sure the answer is yes. But when you can ask from a place of strength, knowing that you can handle any response, you become unstoppable. This is where real maturity begins. You don't tie your self-worth to the outcome. You tie it to your effort, to your clarity, and to your ability to keep moving. You understand that one no doesn't define your future, and one yes doesn't make you invincible. You stay humble. You stay focused. You keep growing. That's what it means to prepare your mind. It means being honest with yourself. Am I ready for this opportunity, if it comes? Am I grounded enough to handle rejection without shutting down? Am I asking because I believe in myself, or because I'm chasing external validation? These are the questions that shape your mindset before you speak your request. When your inner world is solid, the outside response doesn't control you. You become someone who asks with intention, receives with grace, and keeps walking with purpose, regardless of the outcome. Yes or no, both are part of the journey. What matters most is your ability to stay steady, stay clear, and keep asking with strength. Because that's how you turn asking into action. That's how you build resilience. That's how you get whatever you want, without losing who you are. Chapter 6. Back your ask with real value offered. When you ask for something, anything that truly matters, you need to realize it's not just about the request, it's about what you bring with it. If you want people to say yes, if you want opportunities to open up, then what you offer in return has to mean something. Not just empty words, real value. The truth is, people are more willing to help you, support you, or invest in you when they see that you're not just taking, you're also contributing. You're not just hoping to receive, you're bringing something to the table. That's what creates respect. That's what makes someone say, yes, I want to be part of this. Now, value isn't always about money or resources. It's about what you can offer that helps, supports, or benefits the person or situation you're asking from. It's your skills, your energy, your commitment, your insight, your effort, sometimes even your attitude. Before you ask someone for their time, their trust, their resources, or their platform, ask yourself, what am I offering in return? Not out of guilt, not as a formality, but because you understand how exchanges work. Real exchanges, not transactions, but relationships built on mutual benefit and respect. People can sense when someone is only asking to get something. It feels one-sided. It feels like pressure. But when they see you offering something meaningful along with your ask, they feel more open. They feel respected. They feel seen. And they're far more likely to say yes. So how do you back your ask with real value? Start with understanding what matters to the person you're asking. What are they working on? What do they care about? What are their goals, their challenges, their values? If you walk in with that awareness, you can offer something that actually connects. That's when you move from being just another person who wants something to someone who understands, who aligns, who brings something useful. This could be as simple as offering your support on a project, volunteering your time, sharing your skills, or just making their life easier in some way. The point is, show that you're not just looking for a handout. Show that you've thought about how your presence or contribution can actually add. For example, if you're asking someone to mentor you, what are you offering in return? Gratitude is good, but how can you make the experience smoother or more worthwhile for them? Are you coming prepared with thoughtful questions? Are you respecting their time? Are you following through on their advice? That's value. You're showing that their time won't be wasted. If you're asking to collaborate, what are you bringing to the partnership? Do you have experience, ideas, or an audience that aligns with theirs? Are you bringing energy, professionalism, and consistency? Are you someone they'll enjoy working with, not just someone who needs a favor? These things matter. People work with people who lift the room, who follow through, and who show up ready to give, not just take. Now, one mistake people make is thinking they have nothing valuable to offer because they're just starting out. That's not true. Even if you don't have years of experience, you still have something to give. You have your time, your consistency, your effort, your willingness to help, your positive energy, your hunger to grow. Those are all valuable traits, especially to people who are busy, stretched thin, or looking for someone reliable. Never underestimate how powerful it is to be someone who follows through, who shows up with solutions, who listens, who takes initiative. That's rare, and that's value. Another important piece: be honest about your value. Don't pretend to be something you're not. Don't overpromise. Don't exaggerate your skills or experience just to impress. That always backfires. People respect honesty. If you're clear about what you can do and you show a real willingness to grow, most people are willing to give you a chance. But if you fake your value, they'll see through it, and that trust is hard to rebuild. Value also means preparation. Don't just walk into an ask empty-handed. Know your facts, know your numbers, know your proposal. If you're asking for an opportunity, show that you've done your research. If you're pitching an idea, come with a clear plan. If you're asking for feedback, bring work worth reviewing. That kind of preparation shows respect. It says, "I've done my part. I'm not just hoping you'll save me. I'm bringing something real to this conversation." Value is not about being perfect. It's about being thoughtful. It's about showing effort, care, and clarity. Now, sometimes value is about being a solution. If someone has a problem and you can help solve it, that's powerful. Are you good at organizing, writing, editing, researching, listening, planning, teaching? Every skill matters if you know where to place it. Match your strengths with the needs of the person or opportunity you're asking from. That's when your value becomes obvious. And sometimes value is just being someone people enjoy working with. Are you reliable, kind, clear? Those traits go a long way. A lot of people lose opportunities not because they don't have skills, but because they're difficult to work with. On the flip side, people who are easy to work with often get chances again and again, even if they're still learning, because they add emotional value. They create a good environment. They make things easier. Also, timing is part of value. If you bring the right offer at the right time, it matters more. If someone is launching a project and you show up ready to help before they even ask, that's value. If someone is struggling and you offer support before asking for something in return, that shows maturity and heart. Always be aware of the context you're asking in. Ask yourself, what do they need right now? And how can I help move things forward? Not just what can I get? If you make a habit of adding value before asking, you'll find that people are far more open. They remember how you made them feel. They remember the help you gave. And when the time comes for your ask, they're ready to respond with a real yes. This also builds trust. When people see that you've given, that you've supported them, that you care about their mission, not just your own goals, they trust your intention. That trust becomes the bridge to future opportunities. So every time you're about to ask for something, pause and ask yourself, what am I offering in return? How does my ask create value for them too? Am I bringing clarity, support, and follow through with this request? If the answer is yes, your ask becomes strong. It becomes more than just a favor. It becomes a mutual exchange. And that's when people listen. That's when they respond. You don't need to be rich, famous, or highly experienced to offer value. You just need to be thoughtful, honest, prepared, and consistent. Those 4 traits alone will carry you far in any environment. The more you lead with value, the more doors will open, not because you demanded it, but because you earned it. When you show people that you're here to contribute, not just to consume, you stop being just another person with a request. You become someone they want to support, someone they trust, someone they believe in. And that changes everything. That's how you back your ask with real value. And that's how you begin to get whatever you want. Chapter 7. Stay calm and composed. If rejected, rejection is an inevitable part of asking. No matter how well you prepare, how confident you appear, or how much value you offer, there will be times when the answer is no. And how you respond in those moments defines whether your future doors remain open or quietly close. Remaining calm and composed when rejected is a skill. And like any skill, it can be developed through awareness, discipline, and emotional maturity. The first truth you must accept is this: rejection is not always personal. Many times, a no isn't about you at all. It's about timing, priorities, capacity, or something the other person is dealing with that has nothing to do with your character or your worth. When you internalize rejection and take it as an attack on your identity, you weaken your emotional strength. But when you understand that rejection is often circumstantial, you can face it with grace and clarity. Staying composed when someone says no doesn't mean suppressing your emotions or pretending you don't care. It means handling the disappointment in a way that reflects emotional intelligence. You don't lash out. You don't try to convince or beg. You don't withdraw into self-pity. You breathe. You listen. You respond with dignity. One of the strongest things you can do in the face of rejection is to say, "I understand." Those two words can preserve your relationship, maintain your reputation, and show maturity. They communicate that you can accept someone's decision without resistance or resentment. Rejection can feel harsh, especially when it involves something you truly wanted: an opportunity, a connection, a job, a partnership. But how you act after the rejection is often remembered more than the rejection itself. Some people ruin future chances by reacting poorly to a no. They become cold, bitter, or defensive. And that behavior makes the other person feel validated in their decision. But those who respond with calmness and professionalism leave the door open. They earn respect, and sometimes that same person who rejected them the first time will return with a new opportunity later because they remember how maturely it was handled. Rejection is not the end. It's a moment, and moments pass. What you do after rejection matters more than the rejection itself. A good habit to develop is detaching your self-worth from the outcome. If your sense of value depends on whether people say yes to you, you'll always be on an emotional roller coaster. When they say yes, you'll feel validated. When they say no, you'll feel crushed. That's not a stable way to move through life. Instead, root your worth in who you are, not in how people respond. Know your value before you ask. Know that it doesn't disappear just because someone can't say yes right now. One reason rejection hurts is because we tie it too closely to our identity. We think, if they said no to my request, they're saying no to me as a person. That's rarely true. And even if it feels personal, your job is to separate your emotions from the moment so you can respond with strength and clarity. This is where mental training comes in. Before you ask, prepare for both possibilities, yes and no. Walk into the ask with full hope, but also with emotional grounding. That way, if the answer is yes, you move forward, and if it's no, you stay steady. You don't have to love rejection, but you do have to manage it. And one of the best ways to do that is through perspective. Rejection often redirects you to something better. It's uncomfortable in the moment, but with time, you often see how it pushed you toward growth, new paths, or deeper self-awareness. Think back to the times you were rejected, then later grateful that you were, At first it felt like a loss, but later you saw it was protection, redirection, or even preparation. Staying calm in rejection also allows you to ask useful questions, not in a desperate or argumentative way, but with humility and a desire to learn. You might ask, "I completely respect your decision. Would you be open to sharing what led to it? Or is there something I could improve for the future?" Sometimes you won't get a response. Other times, you'll gain valuable insight that sharpens your approach next time. Either way, the fact that you asked with composure shows character. Being rejected doesn't make you weak. Acting recklessly afterward does. True strength is staying steady when your expectations aren't met. People admire resilience. They notice when someone doesn't flinch in the face of disappointment. That's who they remember. That's who they trust. That's who they call back later. Composure is also about not oversharing your emotional reaction. You might feel discouraged, frustrated, or confused, but you don't need to broadcast that immediately. Give yourself space to process those emotions privately. Don't vent publicly. Don't post online. Don't speak out of pain. Give it time. Sometimes your silence after rejection says more than your words ever could. It says, "I'm bigger than this moment. I don't need to prove anything. I'm still moving forward." In fact, when people see that you're not shaken by rejection, they begin to see you differently. They see stability, maturity, and strength. And those traits are attractive, professionally, personally, socially. Another key to staying composed is having a long-term mindset. A single rejection is a tiny dot in the full picture of your journey. But if you obsess over that one dot, you lose sight of everything else that's ahead. Zoom out. Look at the big picture. What feels like a door closing today might be setting you up for 10 more to open tomorrow. Use rejection as fuel, not for revenge, but for refinement. Let it sharpen your skills. Let it show you what to work on. Let it build your emotional strength. Every rejection you face with grace prepares you to handle greater opportunities with even more confidence. It also makes you more empathetic. When you've been rejected and processed it with strength, you understand how to reject others kindly when you have to. You become the kind of leader or decision maker who knows how to say no without crushing someone's spirit. That level of compassion is built through personal experience. So remember, rejection is part of the ask. It's not a failure, it's feedback. And sometimes it's a test, not to see if you'll succeed, but to see how you'll respond when things don't go your way. The more you practice staying calm and composed in those moments, the stronger you become. You stop being afraid of asking. You stop avoiding opportunities, because you know that even if you're told no, you'll handle it with strength. And that inner security is what frees you to take bold steps. Rejection doesn't define your future unless you let it. And it never takes away your potential. It just redirects you for now. So stand tall, even when the answer is no. Keep your dignity intact. Keep your vision clear. Keep your spirit grounded. Because the ones who succeed in the long run aren't the ones who never get rejected. They're the ones who never let rejection stop them. Calm is your power. Composure is your reputation. And how you handle no determines when you'll hear yes. Chapter 8. Practice asking daily to build courage. Courage isn't something you wait to feel before taking action. It's something you build by acting despite fear. One of the simplest yet most powerful ways to grow this courage is by practicing the act of asking every single day. This isn't about seeking handouts or pushing people for favors. It's about training your mind to become comfortable with uncertainty and your voice to speak, even when the answer might be no. Asking daily is a form of discipline, and over time it shapes a person who is not only courageous, but also resilient and clear in their communication. Fear of rejection is one of the biggest reasons people avoid asking for what they want. This fear is often rooted in a deep desire for approval. The moment we connect someone's response to our self-worth, we give away our emotional power. Practicing the ask every day helps reclaim that power, because the more you do it, the less control fear has over your behavior. When you make asking a habit, it shifts something in you. You no longer see it as a big deal, it becomes normal. It's no longer a leap, it's a step. And the more steps you take, the more confident you become. Start small. Begin with requests that carry no major consequences. Ask for a discount. Ask for help. Ask someone for their thoughts. Ask for an introduction. Ask for an extra favor at the coffee shop. These aren't life-changing moments, but they do train your brain to get comfortable initiating action. The real benefit of asking daily is not the outcome, it's the mindset it builds. Each time you ask, you teach yourself that you're allowed to voice your needs. You teach yourself that it's okay to take up space, to be seen, and to engage with the world directly. Over time, this mental shift becomes part of your identity. Some people live their whole lives holding back, not because they lack talent or vision, but because they're afraid of what people will say if they ask for more. They play small not due to a lack of potential, but because they never learned how to ask. And by the time they realize it, they've spent years accepting less than they truly wanted. Daily asking is how you break that pattern. You stop tiptoeing through life. You stop waiting for permission. You stop assuming others will just notice your value. Instead, you begin to take action, not aggressively, but intentionally. Asking is also how you find out what's possible. There are opportunities, connections and resources that will never come your way unless you ask. Not because people are hiding them from you, but because they're simply not offered until requested. Many doors stay closed, not because they are locked, but because no one knocked. This daily practice is not just for extroverts or salespeople, it's for anyone who wants to live boldly and take ownership of their growth. Whether you're a student, an entrepreneur, an employee, or an artist, the act of asking regularly builds the emotional muscle needed to navigate the world with confidence. It also reveals your blind spots. Each time you ask and receive feedback, whether yes, no, or maybe, you learn something new. You gain insight into how you're being perceived, how your request is being interpreted, and how you can communicate more clearly next time. And through that process you refine your approach. One powerful shift occurs when asking becomes detached from desperation. Many people avoid asking because they think it makes them look needy. But in truth, asking with composure and clarity communicates confidence. It shows that you know what you want and that you're willing to take initiative. This is especially true when you ask without attachment to the outcome. When you ask with calm energy, it removes pressure from the conversation. The other person doesn't feel manipulated or trapped. They feel respected, and even if they say no, they respect your courage for asking. Consistency is where this skill takes root. The first few times might feel awkward or intimidating. That's normal. Growth isn't always comfortable at the start. But with each ask, your comfort zone stretches, and one day you find yourself making requests that used to feel impossible. Ask even when it's uncomfortable. Ask even when it's unlikely. Ask even when your voice shakes. Because each time you do, you become stronger. Eventually, what used to scare you becomes second nature. There's also a beautiful byproduct of daily asking. It improves your communication skills. You begin to frame your words more thoughtfully. You learn how to express value. You become aware of tone, timing, and intention, and all of this makes you more effective, not just in asking, but in every conversation you have. Courage isn't loud. It's not always dramatic. Often, it's quiet and consistent. It's the daily decision to act even when doubt whispers. And that's exactly what happens when you commit to practicing the ask. You don't wait for the perfect moment. You don't rehearse endlessly. You step forward, speak clearly, and allow space for a response, whatever it may be. The compound effect of this practice is undeniable. One ask a day becomes 30 a month. Over a year, that's hundreds of opportunities you would have missed by staying silent. Not every ask will yield a yes, but each one will build your courage. And that courage changes how you show up in every area of life. It also builds humility, because not every ask will go your way. Some people will say no, some will ignore you, some might even be dismissive. But if you keep asking, you'll realize that rejection doesn't break you, it builds you. And that's how you gain emotional strength. Eventually, you stop fearing the worst-case scenario. You realize that the worst thing that can happen is usually just hearing the word no. And once you're no longer afraid of that word, you're free. You become the kind of person who moves forward, who initiates, who steps up. And that confidence is rare. It's powerful, and it's earned, one ask at a time. So ask every day, not to collect yeses, but to collect courage. Ask to grow your voice. Ask to sharpen your message. Ask to learn. Ask to lead. Each ask is a rep in the gym of personal growth. It may seem small today, but over time, it transforms you. The people who get the most in life are rarely the most talented or the most lucky. They're the ones who were willing to ask and who built the courage to keep asking no matter what. Make asking a daily discipline. It's not about being pushy. It's about being clear. It's about knowing your worth and having the courage to express it. Courage doesn't come before the ask. It comes from the ask. And the only way to get better at asking is to do it. Every single day. Chapter 9. Use polite persistence without sounding desperate. Polite persistence is a skill that few people master, but almost everyone admires. It is the ability to follow up, stay consistent, and maintain your request without coming across as pushy or desperate. The difference between a professional and an amateur in communication often lies in this very skill, knowing how to pursue without pressure. Desperation repels. Confidence attracts. But persistence backed by calmness and respect builds bridges, earns trust, and often gets results. The person who learns how to walk that line, persistent but respectful, becomes someone others are willing to engage with. When you ask for something once, it can be overlooked. When you ask for it again and again without losing grace, you begin to stand out. You show that you're serious, consistent, and not driven by emotional urgency. People respond not only to what you say, but to how you say it and how you carry yourself over time. The first principle of polite persistence is patience. If you follow up too quickly or too often, it sends a message that you are anxious or lacking other options. On the other hand, waiting too long or not following up at all communicates passivity. You have to find the balance, timing your follow-ups in a way that keeps your presence felt without becoming overwhelming. Every follow-up should be thoughtful. Don't repeat the same message over and over. Add context. Add value. Reframe the request slightly. A simple reminder becomes far more powerful when it includes a reason, an update, or a fresh insight. For example, instead of saying, "just following up," you might say, "I wanted to check in again," and also share a quick update that might add context to my original request. This shows you're not nagging, you're contributing, you're making the interaction more meaningful. People appreciate persistence when it's paired with consideration. If your tone is respectful and your words are measured, the other person will feel respected, not pressured. And when someone feels respected, they're more likely to respond favorably, even if the answer is still no. One powerful part of polite persistence is how you handle silence. Many people panic when they don't receive a response. They assume the worst. But silence doesn't always mean rejection. People get busy. Emails get buried. Decisions take time. Your job isn't to react emotionally, it's to stay composed and consistent. If someone hasn't responded, don't assume they're ignoring you. Approach the situation with curiosity, not accusation. A follow-up message can sound like, "I understand things may be busy. Just wanted to touch base in case this slipped through." That one sentence communicates empathy, self-awareness, and respect. Another way to avoid sounding desperate is to remove emotional weight from the interaction. Don't rely on one person, one opportunity, or one outcome to define your success. When you make your ask or follow-up part of a broader strategy, you detach your self-worth from the result. And that detachment is what gives your tone power. People can feel when you're asking from a place of neediness versus a place of clarity. Desperation says, "I need this to work or I'll fall apart." Polite persistence says, "This is a priority for me, and I'm following up because I value this opportunity." It's a completely different energy, and people pick up on that difference immediately. The way you carry yourself in repeated interactions matters. Stay composed, keep your tone measured, and never lose your calm. Don't guilt-trip, don't complain, and don't try to manipulate. That's the path of the desperate. The person who can keep things professional while still being persistent builds a solid reputation. Another key principle is to stay brief and specific in your follow-ups. Long-winded explanations can feel overwhelming. Keep it clean. Keep it simple. Remind the person of your original message. Reaffirm your interest. Ask if there's anything else they need from you. Then give them space to respond. It also helps to offer an easy next step. Make your request simple to act on. For example, instead of saying, "Let me know if you'd like to talk," say, "If you're open to a quick call, I'm available Thursday or Friday afternoon." That small change takes the pressure off the recipient and makes it easier for them to reply. Don't be afraid to follow up multiple times. Many people assume that one or two follow-ups are enough, but in reality, it often takes 3, 4, or even more touches to get a response, especially if the person you're reaching out to is busy or distracted. The key is how you do it. Always space your follow-ups out respectfully. Avoid daily messages or same-day nudges. Give people time. Then re-engage with a calm, confident tone. At the same time, recognize when it's time to pause. If you've followed up several times and still received no reply, it's okay to step back. Not every ask will be answered. Not every opportunity will come through. But you never lose by being respectful and clear. Your persistence speaks louder than your words. Over time, it tells people who you are. It tells them that you're serious, that you follow through, and that you don't give up easily. But it also tells them that you understand boundaries and respect their time. That's rare, and that's powerful. People trust persistent individuals who are not emotionally reactive. They trust those who stay grounded and show up consistently, not because they're desperate, but because they care. This kind of presence earns long-term respect, even when the short-term answer is no. Also, always end your follow-up messages with grace. Leave the door open. For example, if this isn't the right time, I completely understand. I'd be happy to reconnect later if it works better. That shows maturity. That shows class. And that's what separates polite persistence from pressure. The truth is, persistence is not about being annoying. It's about being memorable. It's about creating momentum through consistency and showing that you care enough to follow up while being composed enough to let go when necessary. Most people give up after the first or second try. They assume silence means rejection and move on. But many breakthroughs come after the third or fourth reach out. The key is staying patient, staying respectful, and never letting your tone turn needy. If you want to get what you truly desire, opportunities, collaborations, connections, you have to develop the strength to keep showing up, and the wisdom to do it with kindness. Polite persistence is the secret ingredient of successful relationships, lasting business deals, and personal growth. It turns a one-time ask into a long-term impression. Keep asking, keep showing up, but never beg, never chase, never demand. Ask with intention, follow up with clarity, and move forward with peace, knowing that your consistency and your tone will speak louder than any single message ever could. When you master this balance, you unlock a power most people never reach. Not because they couldn't, but because they didn't persist with grace. That's how you win. Not just once, but over and over again. Chapter 10. Always express gratitude. After every request made, gratitude is more than just a polite thank you. It's a powerful tool that strengthens relationships, opens doors, and deepens trust. When you ask for something, whether big or small, expressing genuine gratitude afterward is essential. It shows respect, humility, and emotional intelligence. It also leaves a lasting impression that influences how people respond to you in the future. Many people overlook this step. They focus on making the request, pushing hard for a yes, and then moving on as if nothing else matters. But true influence doesn't end with the ask. It continues with how you close the interaction. Gratitude is that crucial close. Why is gratitude so important after asking? First, it acknowledges the other person's time, effort, and attention. When someone hears your request, they have to decide if they will give you their support, resources, or help. That decision requires energy and willingness on their part. By thanking them sincerely, you recognize their contribution, even if the answer is no. This recognition matters. Everyone wants to feel valued. Gratitude tells them you see them, not just as a means to an end, but as a person, and that makes people more willing to engage with you again. Second, expressing gratitude reinforces your character. It shows you have humility. It shows you appreciate that nothing is owed to you, no matter how justified your request may be. When you come from a place of humility and thankfulness, you stand out in a world where entitlement and impatience are common. Humility is magnetic. It builds bridges. It invites connection. Third, gratitude helps you stay grounded emotionally. Asking can stir up a lot of feelings: hope, anxiety, excitement, or even fear. When you close with gratitude, it gives your mind and heart a moment to settle. It shifts your focus from what you want to what you have, an opportunity to connect, to grow, to learn. That shift strengthens your mindset. It keeps you balanced, no matter the outcome. Gratitude after asking also creates a positive feedback loop. When you express thanks, people are naturally inclined to respond positively. They remember your kindness. They feel respected. They want to reciprocate that energy. This reciprocity is real and measurable. It's the reason many successful people cultivate gratitude as a daily habit. They know it's not just about good manners, It's about building a foundation of trust and goodwill that opens doors long after the initial ask. How do you express gratitude in a way that feels genuine and effective? Start by being specific. Instead of a generic thank you, say something that shows you understand what the person has done or might do. For example, thank you for considering my request despite your busy schedule, or I appreciate you taking the time to review my proposal. Specificity makes gratitude feel personal. It moves it beyond formality and into authenticity. Also, express gratitude whether the answer is yes or no. If someone says yes, your thanks can emphasize your commitment to follow through. If someone says no, thank them for their honesty and consideration. Both responses demonstrate respect and emotional maturity. Remember, gratitude is not a tool for manipulation. It's not a way to soften a rejection or to guilt someone into changing their mind. True gratitude is unconditional. It's about valuing the person and the interaction, regardless of the outcome. When you practice this kind of gratitude, you build long-term relationships. People remember how you made them feel more than the words you used or the requests you made. Closing a request with gratitude also keeps your integrity intact. It ensures you're never just taking. You're also giving back in kindness. That exchange creates balance. In practical terms, gratitude can be expressed in many ways: a sincere verbal thank you, a handwritten note, a quick follow-up email, or even a small gesture of appreciation. The medium matters less than the intention and consistency. Another important point: don't rush through gratitude as a formality. When you thank someone, mean it fully. Your tone, your body language, and your words should align to communicate sincerity. People can sense when thanks are superficial or rushed, and that can do more harm than good. Expressing gratitude after asking is also an opportunity to reinforce your value. In your thank you message, you can briefly remind them how you'll honor their support or how you plan to move forward. This subtle reminder shows professionalism and accountability. In the long run, gratitude nurtures your reputation. You become known as someone who is respectful, appreciative, and thoughtful. That reputation is priceless. There's a deeper personal benefit to gratitude as well. Research shows that practicing gratitude regularly improves mental health, reduces stress, and increases resilience. When you incorporate gratitude after each ask, you're not just influencing others, you're also shaping your own mindset in powerful ways. In fact, gratitude can transform how you experience the entire process of asking. Instead of seeing it as a source of anxiety or fear, you start to view it as a chance to connect, learn, and grow. That shift makes asking less daunting and more empowering. Many people wait until after they receive something to express gratitude, but the real power lies in thanking before and after the outcome. Thanking before shows faith and confidence. Thanking after shows respect and humility. Together, these habits create an environment where asking becomes a positive exchange rather than a transaction. Finally, remember that gratitude doesn't just benefit your relationships with others, it also influences how you see yourself. Being grateful after every request grounds you in reality. It keeps you humble about your desires and grateful for the opportunities to pursue them. It reminds you that you are part of a larger network of support and cooperation, not an isolated island. In the art of asking, gratitude is the final brushstroke. It completes the picture. It makes the difference between a fleeting request and a lasting connection. When you express gratitude after every request, you don't just get what you want, you become the kind of person people want to say yes to. Gratitude is the silent power behind every successful ask. It's the warmth that keeps relationships alive, and it's the heart of true influence. Make gratitude your habit after every ask, because how you end a conversation is often just as important as how you begin it.